What's up everybody? My name is Daniel and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing, and if at any point you enjoyed this video, I'd really love it if you drop it a like. So for this video, I thought I'd do something a little different and hopefully fun for you guys. Ever since I started investing about 3 years ago now, I've always thought to myself, how would I invest if I had to start my portfolio all over again? Let's say a hypothetical scenario where I never created the portfolio that I have now, but somehow keeping the knowledge and experience that I actually accumulated through the years of investing. And it is that hypothetical scenario that will be the premise for this video. So let's get started. Since this will be a full rebuild of a portfolio in a, let's call it what if scenario, I will basically be talking through everything from my investing philosophy or thesis to why I choose specific companies. So to prevent this video from getting too long, I will probably break this portfolio rebuild into two parts. So in this video, which will be part one, I will mainly be focused on the dividend portion of this portfolio rebuild. And in a separate video, which will be part two, I will focus on all the growth / spec stocks I will add to this portfolio. Before I get any further into this video, I do need to say that I am not a licensed professional, so please don't take anything I say as financial advice. I try to make videos to hopefully entertain you guys, so you should never just wholeheartedly copy my portfolio or any other person's portfolio on YouTube without doing your own research. Now, how I would actually go about rebuilding my own personal portfolio is to start out really small. This definitely goes against the advice most people give to new investors, but since this is a hypothetical scenario where I'm able to bring in my experiences, I know that I'm able to tolerate the volatility that the market provides, so a small portfolio doesn't bother me. There is actually a quote by Warren Buffett where he says, "Diversification preserves wealth, but concentration builds wealth." Ever since I came across that quote, I have tended to invest with that concentration in mind. And keeping with that concentration theme, for this new portfolio, I would focus on just having 4 companies as my dividend portfolio. By having only 4 companies, I am able to allocate my money in, say, bigger chunks into only 4 companies rather than having 15 or 20 and trying to split it that way. Now, getting to the individual companies itself, the first company I would invest in is Realty Income. Now, to just kind of quickly look at Realty Income, they have a ticker symbol of O, and to disregard all the short term, to look at the long term, on the year, they're down 19.33%, but in the 5-year chart, they're up 36.49%, but that is because if you take a look here, they were up all the way to a high of $84.92, but because of that March correction, they are down basically to $62.91. And to just kind of look through, I do own Realty Income in my real world portfolio, but this shows how much I really like this company. So in this rebuild, just to look at the stats, they have a market cap of 21.71 billion, a PE ratio of 43.89. Although for a REIT, we don't really look at PE ratio. You tend to look at a stat called FFO. But so this, you can kind of disregard PE ratio, and they have a dividend yield of 4.35. And to just look a little further into the company, on Seeking Alpha, you can see that they have a 5-year growth of 4.38%, and they've been paying out their dividends. I don't know why it says 23 years here, because they were established in 1994, which they have actually paid out their dividends consecutively until now and grown it. So it actually comes out to 26 years, and that will actually make them a dividend aristocrat. So for those that don't know, Realty Income is a company that is considered a REIT. And a REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. And basically, it's just a way for you and I as investors to be able to invest in real estate without having an actual physical property. But what makes Realty Income a favorite among basically all dividend investors is because they pay their dividend every month. They literally call themselves, and I believe they patented the phrase, the monthly dividend paying company. Now, why I really like Realty Income besides the monthly dividend is because the tenants that they have is all in the commercial space. If you looked at the top 20 companies that Realty Income rents to, they consist of companies like Walgreens, 7-Eleven, LA Fitness, AMC, Regal, Sam's Club, Walmart, and so on. And a lot of these companies are considered essential businesses. And recently, Realty Income even announced that they were able to collect rent from 98% of their tenants, even through the lockdown and the pandemic. So one of the other biggest reasons I like Realty Income over a lot of other REITs is because their leases are structured as triple net leases, meaning that besides just the rent, the tenants needs to pay for the taxes, maintenance, and insurance of the whole building. This means Realty Income doesn't really have any expenses other than purchasing that property, but once you rent it out, they're just collecting rent and doesn't really have to think about anything more. And the next three companies will basically be known to everybody, and I chose these three not because of their dividend, but more because of their growth potential, and they happen to pay dividends. So going through the next three companies, you guys will see that they don't have a very high dividend yield, but they really have a good balance sheet and a lot of cash flow. So I'm not really worried about them cutting off dividends in the future. So going into the first company, actually second company, but the first quarterly dividend paying company, which will be Walmart. So just to look through Walmart's performance, which they have a ticker symbol of WMT. Actually, before I look into the overall performance, I say quarterly dividends for those that don't know, meaning that they pay out their dividends every 3 months. So for Walmart, they pay out their dividends on January, April, July, and October. So looking back at Walmart's performance, we'll just skip through everything and start at the yearly mark. For this year, they're up 18.92%. And on the 5-year chart, they're up 115%. And just to look through their stats, they have a market cap of $398.51 billion, a PE ratio of 22.39, and a dividend yield of 1.53. And to just take a look at some additional stats from Seeking Alpha, they have a payout ratio of 40.33%, a 5-year growth rate of 2%, which is not the greatest because most of these other companies will be about 10%. But like I said before, I'm investing in a lot of these companies also for the growth potential. So 2% dividend growth rate isn't the biggest deal to me, especially since I'm investing in the long term. But looking at the final stat, they have grown their dividends for 47 years, which actually makes them a dividend aristocrat. Just 3 years from becoming a dividend king. What I really like about Walmart is that they are basically the only competitor to Amazon. And this can be taken in good or bad ways, but I see it more as the good because even through all these years of competing with Amazon, Walmart has never been bullied to back down or even consider selling to Amazon. As a matter of fact, Walmart, especially in recent years, has really ramped up their competition with Amazon. They've launched a Prime-like subscription called Walmart Plus. They have really gone into the same-day delivery service trying to compete with Amazon. And actually the one thing Walmart has a leg up on over Amazon is their groceries, especially on the online grocery sales. Walmart actually makes up 30% of the online food and beverage transactions, while Amazon only makes up 27%. And it's actually projected that by the end of this year, Walmart would actually have 40% of the online food and beverage transactions. And it is Walmart's ability to go basically toe-to-toe with Amazon in this so-called grocery wars / same-day delivery service wars that makes me pretty confident in investing in Walmart. Now, moving on to the third company on this list, which will be Apple. Now, to just look through Apple, which has a ticker symbol of AAPL, skipping to the year performance, they're up 100.11%. And in the 5-year chart, they're up 312.09%. And to just quickly look out over some of their charts, they have a market cap of 1.96 trillion, a PE ratio of 34.36, and a dividend yield of 0.70. And just to look through their stats on Seeking Alpha, you can see that they have a payout ratio of 25.25%, a 5-year growth rate of 10.50%, and a dividend growth of only 8 years. But because Apple has a very good cash flow and balance sheet, I'm not really worried about losing the dividends from Apple. So the biggest reason I like Apple is not necessarily because of the financials or the business or the hardware that they produce. It's more because of this weird cult following that seems to come with being in the Apple ecosystem. Now, I'm not immune to the Apple ecosystem because I do own an iPhone. I do edit a lot of these videos on a Mac, and a lot of my friends and family all own the Apple Watch. So I understand this cult phenomenon that comes with buying into Apple products. And this is the genius of Apple, which I credit towards their advertising department, is that they're able to advertise their products like it's an exclusive, high-end thing that you need to really be a part of. And it is this culture of always wanting the new exclusive or high-end product that is able to generate Apple a lot of revenue. Now, moving on to the last dividend company I will buy in this portfolio rebuild, and that will be Microsoft. So Microsoft is actually one of these other companies that I own in my real world portfolio. And for those of you that have watched a lot of my previous videos, you guys know that Microsoft is my favorite company to own. So just taking a look at Microsoft performance, which they have a ticker symbol of MSFT. On the year, they're up 50.28%. And on the 5-year chart, they're up 350%. And to look through, I'm going to skip through my position. Looking at their stats, they have a market cap of 1.56 trillion, a PE ratio of 35.78, and a dividend yield of 0.99. And to quickly look through Seeking Alpha, Microsoft has a payout ratio of 34.75%, a 5-year growth rate of 10.45%, and they've been paying out their dividends for 17 years. So actually the biggest reason I really like Microsoft is because of their cloud business, which they call the Azure cloud. They are second to Amazon's AWS, and just recently they announced that they've won the Pentagon contract, which is called the JEDI contract, to overhaul Pentagon's and the US government's whole cloud infrastructure. And they were able to win this JEDI contract over Amazon. Now, I know there might be some weird politicking going on if you really read into the story, but nevertheless, they were able to win this contract. And actually, Microsoft this year has kind of been on a tear. Besides the biggest headline of them losing the bid for TikTok, there was some small acquisitions and announcements that they've made that can pay big dividends in the future. Some of these smaller announcements include Microsoft announcing a partnership with AT&T to get into 5G, and they are partnering up with Datadog for a lot of the cloud infrastructure part of their business. And one of the bigger announcements, especially if you're a gamer, is that Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, which is the parent company of Bethesda, which really builds out their catalog of Game Pass, which is Microsoft's version, or actually Xbox's version of Netflix for gaming. And Microsoft has announced that they have over 10 million subscribers to Game Pass, which creates a recurring revenue structure for Microsoft. So those will be the 4 companies I will buy into to generate me dividend income every single month. Actually, now that I think about it, I might have forgotten to mention the months that those quarterly companies pay out, so I'll just say them now. I'll have a graphic up probably showing you. So for Walmart, they pay out their dividends on January, April, July, and October. And for Apple, they pay out their dividends on February, May, August, and November. And finally, Microsoft pays out their dividends on March, June, September, and December. And just by having those three companies, you're able to generate monthly dividend income because all of their quarterly payouts fall on different months. And by adding Realty Income, which pays out every single month, that'll mean you'll have two companies that pay out dividends every single month. Now, this portfolio that I've created is what I believe more for the people that have a longer time horizon. Like for myself, I'm 32, so I'm thinking I'm gonna be generating a lot of these dividends and reinvesting them for at least 30 years. But if you have a shorter time horizon, let's say if you have 10 years before retirement, or maybe even 15, you might look for a higher dividend paying company instead of the ones I've listed. I might be a little greedy here, but for my dividend part of my portfolio, I don't want to just generate dividend. I also want a decent return on the invested capital that I have in a lot of these companies. And to finish out this video, my plan would be pretty similar to what I use now in my current portfolio for this rebuild. I would still dollar cost average, taken to the extreme like I do now. I would invest a certain amount of money every single day into probably just focusing on two of the companies and maybe switch off every few months like I do now. And I would actually have drip turned on for every single one of them. So I can really take advantage of that snowball effect so that maybe even in 10 years, if I invest on these four companies, that maybe they will be able to continue that snowball on their own without me having to invest as much money as I have to at the beginning. So that will be it for part one of my portfolio rebuild. If you would like to see part two or even more videos from me, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you've enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And with that, I want to thank all of you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.